Alright. Hello there, my name is William Jiaming and welcome to my Swift UI tutorial. So, last time I introduced you guys how to make the struct and fill in information and how to use the content view preview to make this sort of instant rendering of the info that you just filled in to show in the right side. And of course you can, because it's live preview, so you can change it and it will instantly change it to the right. And that is a little bit boring, of course, so I'm going to add something interesting here. So you can sort of, because it's a declarative programming, so you just need to declare something. Okay, so you just need to declare like the declarance of independence, something like that. You need to declare you want the results of a certain thing, and that thing will happen. You don't need to know about all this or sort of hassle that the interpreter is going through. Okay, so you just need to say something like a boss and he will carry it out. So say what I'm going to do is to have a certain alignment. Okay, so in order to add alignment, I'm going to add the special requirement here. So for example, if I like alignment, okay, so I just tab it, and we got the horizontal alignments or content, something like that, and it can be a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to start from simple. Okay, so I'm going to say the alignment. I'm going to do that manually. Okay, so the interesting about the declarative programming and Swift UI is that you can sort of access a certain attribute by using the dot. Okay, so if you just say dot something and you want something to happen. Okay, so for example, the alignment, I like to have it in there. Most of the time we like to in the center or leading. Okay, unless you are doing sort of haiku or something. Okay, you want a training. So let's try three of those. Okay, so center. Once I got a center, and it will just become the center of it. I think it's sort of a default thing, but if you want to see the change, my recommendation is that you can play with the leading and trailing. Okay, so if you got the leading, you can see that all the lines was forced to start at the leftist corner of it. Okay, and that looks great. And of course, you are doing something haiku or something that's starting the right side of it. You can use trailing. Okay, so this way you can treat it as a word processing software like Word or something like that. You can just format all this info that you put it in. And of course, you can add the spacing between it, but the spacing is not about alignment, so you're going to use the command to separate it and say that I like a spacing, and that spacing will be a CG float, okay, and optional. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to specify a certain number here. So for example, I specify 10. You can see that we got the spacing of 10, so one line and have a spacing of 10, another line got a spacing of 10. Okay, we want a pretty big one. Let me just add a 50, and we just got spaced out. Okay, and then you can say at the center of it, and here we are. And if you want the leading of it, here we are. Then you can have all this fun with all these changes of the words, alignment as well as spacing. And remember, we can not only to add some of the requirements in these brackets, but also parentheses. Sorry, but we can also just add some requirements inside of here. Okay, so yeah. If there is another tip for you. If you are so confused about the parentheses or bracket, you can just tab one of it here and double tap it. It will just enclose or choose everything that you want to see what is inside. Okay, so if you want to see the end of this, you can just click, double tap it, and you can just see this sort of layered thing. Double tap and double click it, you can just enclose everything, and that looks great, especially if you got a pretty complex project, as we will coming to. You will have a hard time understand what is the layer structure of it. So the best way to do is to double click it and everything will be fine. Okay, let's add something interesting. Okay, so for example, after 2 lines of it, I want to separate these 2 lines. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to add a spacer in between. Okay, so spacer, and once you add that, then you just got to space it up. Okay, and say I like a spacer here, please. Alright, and I add another spacer. So as you guys can see, let me just make it a little smaller so you guys can see. We got a pretty big spacer here, pretty big spacer here. So we can not only add that inside the parentheses in the VStack, but also we can add spacers and all sort of adjustments in here. Okay, but as you guys already know, that when you add here, it's a much more concise, much more straightforward, because if you add a spacer here, I need to find that. You need to, so for example, if I want to delete the spacer, I need to find that among all sort of the text code in order to delete it. Okay. But when it compared with spacer, my personal favorite will be a divider. Okay, so the divider is that when you already finish a certain section of content and want to add something, and you can add divider here. Okay, and of course you can use divider as a sort of enclosure device to enclose everything, and the result is pretty great. Okay, so let's, instead of using spacer, let me use divider. Let me show you guys how it's done. You just say, hey, because it's declarative programming, you just need to declare that I'd like a divider here, please, and yeah, we just show a pretty fine-tuned line of line here. Okay, so it's just sort of divide the upper text to the lower text. Okay, and I sometimes use divider as a sort of enclosure device. So remember, if I just delete it, it will just come together, and if I move spacer to 50 to say 10, just make it a little bit together. And what I'm going to do is to remember, even though you add a little bit new line here, and at the right side, and it's just ignore it. Okay, so no matter how many enter that you enter, okay, new line that you want enter, the right side still just ignore everything, because you are not putting commands here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to add a divider here and add a divider at the end of it, so it sort of act as an enclosure device, just enclose everything inside. And I can say move space into 20, just make it, give it a little bit more space. Okay, and delete hello. Let me command D to duplicate this multiple times, and we get a pretty nice layout here, right? And extra arguments at position 11. Maybe I accidentally messed something, just delete it. So it's yeah, that's much good. Okay, all right, once you think that this is better, what I'm going to do is to change the whole enclosure here. Okay, so the interesting syntax about Swift UI is that you can treat this whole structure as a sort of object, and you like to make changes to a certain object. So you are going to use dot syntax a lot. Okay, so if you use dot, essentially you want to make changes to this whole structure here. So as I said, you can double click it. You can, the simple time you click it, you just highlight this. If you click it twice, it will just enclose everything, just choose everything. Okay, and you want to add a little bit spacing. Okay, so padding, sorry. So you can add paddings, and then I'm going to input a certain magic number inside. Okay, so the quickest way of understanding or sort of a check, look it up of all sorts of a number that you want to input is to holding the Alt if you're using a sort of a Windows keyboard. If you're using Mac, this option. Okay, so hold that and you click it, and you can quickly check the documentation. Okay, and you can see that if they're using VStack and text, and they got a padding, you have edge, inset, and we got top, leading, bottom, and trailing, and you even can get a border. Okay, so this is a quick way to check things, especially because in this tutorial I'm not going to cover every thing, every detail, every parameter. Okay, that will be impossible and huge waste of time, and the tutorial will be like a documentation, and that is meaningless. You can just read documentation on Apple, okay, Apple's website. So what I'm going to do is to teach you how to get the information, how to check it, and how to use it. Okay, and that is better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to add something like this. Okay, so the quickest way, of course, is to just copy and paste. Okay, there's nothing wrong about copy and paste, because you know this is just a documentation. You're not just copying other people's code, but you are copying from Apple's code. Okay, and Apple sort of wants you to do that, because the more people use their service, the more they can get built up, the better the community they are going to build, and that's just simply great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to fine tuning all that. Okay, so as you guys can see, we got top, leading, bottom, and trailing. Okay, so first I'm going to adjust all that to 0, and of course we got a border color here. This is another suggestion for you. If you just play around and just understand a certain concept, do not use a gray, black, some not so outstanding color. My recommendation is that use red or something like that, so you know exactly where you are fine tuning. Okay, so if you use this gray, you might not be able to see the left and right changes. Yeah, there's no member gray, so maybe blue, something like that. Okay, so if you're not using a pretty fine-tuning outstanding color, you might, I think it's gray, sorry, gray, something like that. So it's American English. Okay, so if you are using gray, you may not be able to see the left and right. Okay, so it's a pretty fine-tuned color and sort of blend with the edges of the iPhone. So my recommendation is that use red. Okay, you use blue, so you can see the left and right still got a border here. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. And the edge, inset, the top, leading, bottom, and then you can add in a little bit padding. My personal favorite is that you got a leading of 5, okay, and you got trailing of 5, so it's not too crammed it up. And if you are bored about the leading, you can just say I like everything you in the center of it. Okay, and the leading and bottom at the top and the bottom, we can change that to say 20 and 20. Right, so you get a little bit enclosure here, and that just look great. And then after you already know that, you can change the color, say blue and black and all sort of thing. Yeah, as long as you are satisfied with it. Okay, And of course, what I'm going to do is to combine the padding as well as the offset. Okay, so let me just simplify this problem for you. Okay, so I'm going to just comment out. Okay, once I comment out, I can okay, let's just comment everything out, or just simply delete it, because I don't think we need it here. So yeah, just to delete it. What I'm going to do is show you that you can get a fine-tuned control by using the padding as well as offset. Okay, so let me show you how. So for example, I like to got the first line, hello, I'm William, welcome to my channel. Okay, I like to change this text rather than every text inside of this huge closure. What I'm going to do is to dots, and we're going to add padding, and as I said, we can add edge inset. Okay, but we can leave it blank, and we can add another here. Okay, that's the beauty of a declarative programming language, is that you can add a lot of dots. It's pretty uncommon for you to use it, say in Python. That is another sort of paradigm for programming, but in declarative programming, it's a pretty common. Yeah, I think I pronounced that declarative. Okay, this is a pretty tongue twister for me to pronounce it. Okay, so the padding, and we can add a lot of dots behind it. Okay, so padding, and I can offset it, and then you can add sigil size to it. So for example, if you don't know that, and you don't know what heck is a sigil size, you can just use the Option or Alt, depending on the keyboard that you're using, that you click it, and you can just say, oh, you can add X and Y here. Okay, so for example, if I'm going to say move it on the y-axis, and I'm going to say maybe 100, okay, I can offset it. So y-axis 100, so it's sort of going backwards, so you go down rather than going up. Okay, so if you want going up, you can just add a minus, and you're just going up from its original places. So even though the text is still at here, but you sort of offset it by pushing it upwards. Okay, and of course you can push the x-axis by just to tab it. Yeah, let me show you how. Okay, so x, and you can sort of push that to the x-axis minus 100, which means that you can move left 100, and of course you can move right 100. Okay, so essentially you can use these two together. You can use, or if you don't want to use offset, you can use padding. And padding is like sort of a inside of this structure, and you adding a little bit pad to the left and right. Offset is like you want to go off this sort of enclosure, or you want sort of go outside, and you want to get up. The anchor point is right here, and you want to go to the top of it, down bottom of your left and right. Okay, so yeah, and of course, because it's declarative, you can say I like the whole structure to have a padding. Okay, you have a padding, and you can have a offset. Okay, and you can move the whole structure, say down. Okay, and then move whole structure down and move it up. You can just minus. You can go to x axis, you move it to the left. You can move to the right. Yeah, so it's pretty versatile. Alright guys, I think that's it. It's a fairly long video. I tend to make my YouTube video a little bit shorter because you know, it's a little bit boring stuff if you look at the programming, and I tend to make one video just to solve one concept, one problem. Okay, so I think in the next video I'm going to go to the edge stack. Okay, so you can give different layouts and see what is the difference between edge stack and VStack. Okay, so if you're still there, my name is William Jiaming, and please subscribe to my channel if you think my contents are helpful, and give me a thumbs up, and that will greatly help me to sort of yeah, make the algorithm to know my channel, okay, and let other people who are interested in this sort of concept and knowledge, and yeah, just have fun together. Okay, so bye.